the screen and the virtual background. So let's see what goes on here. We may or may not get interrupted by a cat. Kind of cute, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Today's reading from the daily guides is once again intended primarily for people involved in New Thought in general and Science of Mind in particular. But really, the whole idea doesn't just apply to people who follow that philosophy. It applies to anybody who's got a positive philosophy. So here we go. I think I'll just read it and then I'll come back and make it fit. So how's that? Oh my God. Hold on. We have a problem. Well, my apologies to everybody. The other thing I wanted to say was this, that some people who've been getting my stuff on things like Instagram were very nervous about opening these messages because obviously there's so much spam and so much junk and so many traps out there these days. I don't blame anybody for not opening stuff if you don't know what it is. So if you know somebody who's questioning this, just please tell them it's genuine. At least as far as I know, it's genuine, right? So here we go. Here is the thing. He's called this "What Color Is Your Parachutes?" Quite a number of years ago, there was a book which was actually about job seeking. It was called "What Color Is Your Parachute?" And I assume that's where he got this from. However, the first quote is from Rumi, the famous Middle Ages Persian poet, who says, "You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You're not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly." Of course, metaphorically speaking. It's kind of interesting because at our Toastmasters meeting this morning, the third speaker, we had three speakers today, the third speaker really spoke about his own insecurities. And when I discussed it with him and a couple of other people afterwards, yeah, every single person on the planet to some extent has got some insecurities. Maybe there is somebody who doesn't, but I don't know, personally, I don't know one person who doesn't have some kind of insecurity. And he briefly mentioned something called the imposter syndrome, and it's apparently very, very common that people don't really think that they fit into whatever function it is they're doing. They feel that they're imposters. So this quote from Rumi is just the opposite, and we should take note of that within each one of us, there's some greatness, and we're either going to do marvelous things or we're going to do things that, because they're tiny, doesn't mean that they won't evolve ultimately through different ways and means into something great. So every single thing that we do in a positive way positively impacts the world, positively impacts evolution. It positively impacts everything. However big or small it is, it's got an impact. So that is my message from this reading today. The quote from Ernest Holmes, it's actually from 365 Science of Mind, which by its definition is a reading Ernest Holmes wrote for every day of the year. And this is on page 61, paragraph 2, which presumably is sometime into March. You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. This is Rumi. This is what Holmes says. We're afraid of greatness because we're so tied down to littleness. None of us is as perfect in expression as we ought to be. So the challenge to each of us is to be great enough to rise in love, in charity, through understanding and through compassion. Love is the lodestone of life. So Ernest Holmes puts the emphasis here on love. And my mouse is just not cooperating. Come on. What are you doing? There you go. Oh, no. All right. So this is Reverend Raymont Anderson. He said, forget the parachute. He says, what color are your wings? And then he says, as we read in the June 12 Daily Guide, Guillaume Apollinaire wrote, come to the edge, he said. And so they came, and he pushed them and they flew. And he encourages us to meditate on that quote, just like the eagles we talked about yesterday. Then he says, the people flew because they could fly. And then he quotes people who've done this kind of thing. He says, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led because he could lead. Harriet Tubman liberated because she could liberate. And then he says, and we using this teaching do the same. I'm going to say, and we adopting a positive attitude to life and practicing it, all of us do that same thing. And then he gives an example. He says, imagine walking into a hospital where few nurses or physicians tend to patients. Many sit idly by, waiting for someone else to help. Others tell patients to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and still others shame them for having the consciousness that caused them to be in the hospital. He says, what would you think? And then he says, and I'm changing this, do you notice many people who have a positive attitude on life and claim to have a positive attitude on life, especially, who are doing similar things? So are we saying one thing, be positive, and then are we doing another? It says we busy ourselves by being adapted to the ideology of littleness and fitting in, rather than embodying the boldness of spirit that seeks to color outside of the lines, heal the sick, feed the hungry, protect the children, eradicate war, and so much more. We're aglow with the cosmic aura of the divine. And here we are turning the switch to dim the shine. It says no more getting by when we're meant to fly. No more playing small when we're incarnations of the one, the all. And as Ernest Holmes wrote, it's only through love that we find the presence in its greatness and can use the power in its fullness. So I take this message on two levels. One is to people in the New Thought community saying, hey, practice what you preach. And the other one is to people who claim to have a positive attitude on life and saying, practice what you preach. And to those of us who quote Jesus, and we do it a lot, are we truly practicing what we preach? You know, Jesus said, go heal the sick. He said, these things and greater things will you do. It's done unto you as you believe. Love your neighbor. Who's my neighbor? Well, according to his parables, everybody is our neighbor. The Good Samaritan was an enemy in many Jewish eyes. He's the only one who did any good. So really, the message to all of us is this, that we have been told that we're able to have a positive impact on this world. And are we doing it? That's really what I take from this. So I don't care whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, you follow New Thought, you don't follow New Thought, you're a Buddhist, you're a Sikh. I don't care. If you're someone who says that you adopt a positive attitude towards life, do it. And if you're somebody who has not adopted a positive attitude towards life, then grab hold of someone who can help you on that path. And one way is the philosophy that Ernest Holmes produced, which is I teach and other people teach. So, hey, that's my message today. I just want to end by saying that despite all these messages, and the messages are good for the most part, or I wouldn't read them. And when they're not good, I don't read them. It's still important to look after ourselves, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. We need to look after ourselves. And shaming, either shaming other people or shaming ourselves, is not the way to go. The way to go is to learn from our past mistakes. We all make mistakes. But the only way we've ever learned anything in life, really, the best way is we've had, or when we've made a mistake, we've learned from it, we've moved forward. There is no place in life for continued guilt. There is no place in life for continued shame, either of ourselves or others. We are expressions of one divine source. That's my belief. And as such, I'm saying, let's practice what we preach. Today, I spread the wings of my consciousness and I soar through the vast expansiveness of my mind. I know there's only one mind, and that mind is God. God is all there is. God brought everything into existence. The word God doesn't work for you. Spirit, the all, ground of all being, yes, even quantum field. You pick whatever you choose. I choose to call the source of everything God, but you choose to call it whatever you choose. And my prayer is that each one of us this day begins to adopt a more positive attitude towards life and allow the divine to produce that. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. Remember, my colleague, Reverend Lisa, will be on Facebook, Spiritual Life Center's Facebook page tomorrow morning, and I'll be back tomorrow evening on wherever you saw this. So until next time, please take care and namaste.